Okay, we are live. Yay.
Hi.
Okay, guys, I will jump right in since I'm already a minute or two late. So today I have with me a really good friend and a fabulous loan officer, Amber Villalpando. If the name sounds familiar, this is Dan's wife, so it's a family ordeal. Amber, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you.
So I'm really excited to have you because I did an interview with another lender and everything about your services is just a little different and it's really worth talking about. So I'm super excited to hear from you all that you do.
Thank you. Yes. I am a little bit different than some mortgage loan officers, so there is some things to talk about for sure.
Awesome. Well, I guess let's start with a little introduction about how you got in the industry and what your experience is.
Awesome. So yes, I have always been fascinated with numbers. I was the girl in 8th grade that didn't even have math because they didn't have math high enough for me. I loved math. But I went kind of a different direction in college, thinking I was going to go somewhere else. And then as soon as I graduated college, I ended up in the banking industry just because I liked those numbers. And I was in operations, I was in consumer lending, doing credit cards, auto loans, all of those things. And mortgages always intrigued me because it was like a step beyond consumer lending. I could get more involved. It's more challenging. There's more things to do. I got a little bit bored of consumer lending. So about 6 years ago, I started in mortgage lending. And once I started into mortgage lending, I ended up switching companies, oddly enough. And the reason I did that is because every mortgage company is a little bit different. There's bankers and there's brokers, and I wanted to be with a bank. I wanted to be with a bank that not only allowed me to finance in all 50 states, but I wanted every single mortgage program available on the market, not only conventional and FHA and USDA, but maybe a self-employed borrower that just has more money in bank deposits than they show on taxes. I do those loans too. And so I wanted to be able to have a versatile career with my mortgage business.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what is the name of the bank that you work with?
Sure. So I work for First Federal Bank. And again, we're a bank. We're based out of Florida. We have brick and mortars in Florida, but I am licensed in all 50 states.
That's amazing. And it's really cool because you can help, the vacation homes, the people relocating, but you are based in Georgia. So you also have that strong Georgia following as well.
Yes. So most of my Georgia business is from referrals. All of my other business comes through the leads that my company provides to me. But yeah, all of my Georgia business is strictly through referrals because people have known who I was in the banking industry and followed me to my new company.
That's amazing. That's how you know you're doing it right, when you get referrals.
100%.
Awesome. So being licensed in all 50 states is one of the things that makes you stand out as a lender. It's not something that's super common. Is there extra education that comes with that? How do you get to be that broad?
Yeah, so licensing for a mortgage loan officer in general is very complicated. We go through background checks and credit checks and the FBI fingerprints us. There's a lot to it. Luckily, my bank is the one that makes it to where I can be licensed in all 50 states. They have to go through a few other items to know what the compliance and regulations are with each state. So I have to know certain different things about different states. Some states are spousal states. So say, for example, someone is purchasing and they have a domestic partnership. They're not married, but they may live in a certain state where no matter what, that person has to go to closing with them because it's what's considered a spousal state. So there are a little bit more trainings that you do have to go through, but it's more in regards to their state compliance and guidelines.
Okay, that makes sense. I can only imagine. I struggle with just remembering all of the rules for Georgia as far as real estate. So having all 50 states in mind that has to be, I mean, you wanted a challenge, that has to be it.
Yes, it is. I have a lot of worksheets that I have to refer back to sometimes just to make sure that I have everything right. But the good thing is also is I have a really great team. So literally, if I miss something, I have someone else backing me right back up. That is like, hey, you did all of this right, but there's that one thing right there. And I really do have an amazing team. Here's another thing though. Some mortgage loan officers only work with you for a short period of time during the process, and that's not what I do. I work with you from beginning to end, and I also work with the real estate agents. I like to keep in contact with them the whole time because the borrower already has enough on their plate when they're trying to purchase or refinance or do all of that stuff. So I like to take as much weight off of my client as possible and have that communication with them so that they don't have to do another thing on top of what I'm already asking from them.
Right. I think that is a really great point to bring up because I know, especially with clients that we work with bigger banks, they feel like they're bounced around a lot, maybe not really receiving that superior level of service. And I know from working with you with referrals that you just constantly stay in touch, you text, you email. And I mean, they know you by, oh yeah, Amber, she's awesome. It's like, that's awesome. You don't hear that all the time.
Yeah, and here's the thing, not every person is the same. I have actually had training on people, just learning to adapt to different people's styles. Some people may be quieter and not want to talk on the phone. They'd rather text or email me. That's fine. I'll accommodate to that. There's some people that want to stay on the phone with me for an additional 15 minutes and talk about their family life. And that's fine. You adapt to those people and what makes them comfortable so that the transition is really good. They refer you, they're happy. They're already going through a stressful enough time with a mortgage. So I really do try to make it as seamless as possible because I know I'm probably going to come to you 2 or 3 times and ask you for something that underwriters have asked. So anything that I can do to make it easy is what I do. So accommodating to what they want, how they want to be communicated with, and how often they want to be communicated with is important as well.
That's great customer service. And then an additional bonus when working with you is you can save people a lot of money. So in addition to being very personalized, very involved, you're also charging less than other loan officers.
Yeah, so this company is not the typical mortgage loan company that charges the 1 to 2% origination charge. So all other fees for closing is title attorney. The only thing that the lender charges is for origination. And most of the time they do 1% of whatever the loan amount is. So when you're thinking of a $500,000 loan, that's $5,000 right there that the lender is charging. Luckily, my company doesn't do that. We charge a flat rate. It's $1,690. And so you really can't beat that. Of course, if your loan amount is maybe a little bit less, it may not be ideal, but there's different ways to structure a loan to make it worth your while.
Right. And I mean, that results in a lot of savings, especially when you start getting into the more expensive houses, your down payments, closing costs, all of these things, like saving that few $1,000s can be critical.
Very, very. And what people don't understand is when they're purchasing, if you don't have 20% down, people can structure how they want to pay their PMI. And a lot of people don't realize that. Now, let me rephrase that. That's only on conventional loans. FHA is one way and that's it. But people don't realize they can pay some money up front. If they want their premium to be lower, they can pay it all in a chunk, or they can even have the lender pay it if they want a higher rate. And sometimes a higher rate does make sense. If you're not going to be in a home long 1 to 2 years, I have worksheets that I like to kind of play around with because I want to do what makes financially sense for my clients. How long are you going to be in a house? Because if you're not going to be there long, you probably don't want to buy down a rate. Buying a down rate is solely prepaying your interest, which makes sense if you're staying in a house for a long time. But if you're not, you want to know how long it takes you to recoup those fees to see if it's going to be worth your while.
Yeah. And these are important conversations to have because nowadays it's not, it's not always so common to just, oh, this is our forever house, we're moving in. You have house hackers, you have people looking to rent, Airbnb, forever home, just a temporary home. There's so many different people out there looking for different options. So having these conversations can save time, money. I mean, they can be the difference in getting you in the house you want versus something meh.
Yeah, it's 100% the case. And every person, every couple who applies is not the same. And that's why having these conversations and trying to figure out what their goals are is really the most important thing, because someone that's going to be in a home for 20 plus years retiring in it may not have the same goals that someone that has kids about to go to college.
100%. So I guess a good little transition is the service that you offer and the flexible rates that y'all have. Have you seen a reflection on your success in this super crazy market? Has your high level of service helped you?
Yes, referrals are a huge part of my business. So yes, having the best service really does make a big difference. Knowing we're not going to sell a loan is another big thing. People want to know where their mortgage is going to end up. And if you look at my reviews and my company reviews, we have, I think it's over 5,000 five-star reviews. And all of mine are five-star reviews as well. So we look very highly upon great customer service, giving you great rates, great benefits, but also keeping your loan so we can still service you in the future.
100%. And we see all the time that sometimes the difference in getting a house isn't when you're going to close or when the price is. Sometimes it's having that lender that is going to reach out and say, hey, this client is great, they're super qualified, having that agent that will go the extra mile. So just knowing that you're the lender involved and we're not chasing people down. I mean, again, that's the difference between getting in a house in this market or not.
Absolutely. And another thing that's great about this company is some lenders don't like to put their team into resourcing and underwriting what we call to be determined properties. So when you purchase a property, you'll get a pre-qualification just by putting in an application. Well, my company likes to put in a little bit more legwork and actually put you into underwriting once you supply a few documents for assets and income. And we put you into underwriting so that there is no question about whether or not you personally are qualified.
Right.
And so if you are in a bidding war for a home, which a lot of times these days you see it, unfortunately, if you have a pre-approval, you are going to look 10 times better than someone that just has a pre-qualification, because you've been to underwriting already, and that financing contingency that you may not know about in your contract, it's already met. And so usually that's a 2-week time period that they allow you to get to underwriting and get that conditional approval. Well, with this TBD program, you are already considered conditionally approved. So you look so much better as a purchaser.
Right. And I mean, for anybody that's considering purchasing right now, it's a great time to purchase. Rates are low. That is so critical. People won't even entertain offers if you're not approved in this market. So that is like probably the number one thing to have before you go house hunting if you want to get a house.
Yes. So funny enough, when I had a purchase that's closing this Friday, they were actually putting their paperwork in for that pre-approval. During the pre-approval process, they got under contract. So they were already in underwriting. They scooched them right back into where they were in line. And we had them cleared to close a week before their closing date. So they've been cleared to close. They've just been sitting back, waiting to relax and actually close on their home.
Yeah. And as a buyer, that is the most comforting feeling, is knowing that unless some crazy thing happens to the house, you are totally safe and in the clear. You can
exactly. Yes.
So I know one common fear that I get with customers is how long it takes to get pre-approved through a bank. Now, most times with banks, it's a little longer, but again, you're personalizing the service. So what is your standard time to get somebody pre-approved?
So that's going to actually depend on the market, and every lender is going to tell you that. So right now, anytime that my company gets heavy volume to where we start seeing a backup, we will immediately hire underwriters that are contractors. So we don't like to have our turn times more than a week out, which sometimes can be a long time, but generally about 2 business days that we're underwriting. In the, like I said, busy season, maybe about 5 business days.
Yeah, and that's pretty solid. I know I will totally put myself on blast as the example. If you are a great, credit, income, everything, it's on the quicker end. Obviously, it's easier to underwrite. I was a hot mess in underwriting when I got my house, and it did take a little longer, but I kind of knew that going in. And again, it didn't take me super long. So that, 2-day to 7-day window is not much when you're getting such a critical piece of paper.
Yeah. And I think setting that expectation up front to your client is very important. I try, because I've been in the industry for a while, I try to get every single thing possible that I would think of that I know that would even possibly come up. And I try to get that at the beginning to put the weight off of the client during the process of us working on it in the background. Right. Even if it's just writing a letter of explanation, simple things like that, instead of asking over and over, is very important. And setting the expectation to the client, hey, our turn times are faster right now, or maybe they're slower right now. Here's when you can expect to hear back from me. And I think that that's very important, because you don't want someone just hanging out there like, am I going to hear from you today? Am I going to hear from you next week? When am I going to hear from you? So setting that expectation is very important.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So once you have your pre-approval and you're under contract on a home, how fast can you see something through to the closing table should an issue arise? In
30 days, actually. So I had a contract that closed last week, and we actually did have an issue with the person that was selling the home having to make a repair to the home first. But literally, my underwriters had everything cleared condition-wise with my client, so that the only thing we had to worry about was getting the final inspection for the appraisal. And so they basically cleared us to close pending. So we closed within 30 days and still had an issue on that appraisal.
Okay, so that's awesome. So, despite being a bigger bank and having a little bit of that stigma on you, you definitely can provide quicker service, more personalized service. So it's a little bit of the best of both worlds, especially for somebody that needs to save a little money or wants to save a little money or needs a wider variety in loan type.
Absolutely. And even if you just don't know what you're doing and need assistance, I'm the person that's going to look at every single loan as if you are my family, you're my friend, because I don't want to put someone in a position I would never put myself in. And so that's why tell me your goals. What do you want out of this? And that's how you work with that client to structure the things that they want to keep them in a home that they're comfortable with that payment and they're satisfied with my service.
Awesome. And one thing that I always like to add when I'm referring somebody to any lender, specifically with you, is that it's always great to make that phone call. You should definitely pick up the phone and have that virtual in-person conversation if possible, but you love stuff like that. So even if somebody has questions on how to qualify or if they qualify, it's worth a conversation, because maybe you don't, but you also know the steps and tricks to give somebody to qualify sooner rather than later, and you can kind of nurture them.
Yes, I do that actually a lot with clients. Some clients don't even think they'll qualify, and I'm like, actually, you do qualify. And then some clients, I'm like, you know what? Let's work together for about 6 months. I ran what's called a credit wizard report on your credit. Here's what you would have to do to get your credit the way it needs to be. Right before this meeting, actually, I had a client that went to another broker and they were basically denied a loan. They said, well, we can do it this way with just your wife and this, that, and the other. Now I took a look at it and I understood why they said it the way they did, But here's where they missed out. He does qualify. All they had to do was run a credit wizard report. He has to pay down one credit card by $100. And I'm going to rerun his credit, and it's going to increase his credit score. And now I can qualify him for the loan that he needs. And he was just brushed off by another broker. And that's what irritates me sometimes about this business is there's so many loan officers out there that are just aggressive and just want your money. And that puts a really bad taste in some people's mouths. And I can see why. But that's why I like what I do and how I do my business, is because even if it doesn't work for you, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't work for you.
Right. There's so many more options besides the FHA conventional that everybody knows about. And it's really important to explore those options with somebody that you trust. The importance of shopping around and going with your gut, get multiple pre-approvals in 30 days, and work with who provides the best service.
Yes.
It
makes the most sense.
Yes. So how do people get in touch with you?
So people can get in touch with me a few ways. We can post my business card. It's going to say Amber Brown for right now because I am now legally married. So I am now Amber Villalpando, and I will be updating my marketing materials. But right now it does say Amber Brown. My email is browna@ffbf.com. So that's firstfederalbankoflorida.com. And my telephone number is 678-813-3071. If you write me on email, I can respond back to you. I even have a web page on LendingTree you can look me up on. There's different resources that I can send you about my company and about myself as well.
Awesome. So I'm going to put all of that in the comments once we're off. So that way people don't have to try to memorize what you just said. And I also have marketing material that I'm going to link down there as well. Again, it still says Brown, but it's the same person, guys. Congratulations on being legally married.
Thank you. That was actually this morning. It first happened this morning. I'm legally now the Villalpando.
I saw on Facebook and I was like, I'm confused here.
I like to keep it fresh.
Exactly. You got to do something every couple months to keep us on our toes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. And
Thank
congratulations to Dan. I'm sure he's watching as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber. And again, I'm going to link everything in the comments, but y'all, if you have questions, Amber can answer them in the comments. You can email her, you can call her. She's super available. She's super responsive.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Have a great day.
You too.